Hey YouTube family, welcome back to another video, and today I will be doing a refill. My client, she went to the nail shop. As you can see the difference with that pinky finger, and she also have another one on the other hand as well. So I'm going to be doing 2 nail fixes and a refill today. The first thing I do when my client comes in is she go and she wash her hands, and then I'm going to start removing polish or top coat from the acrylic. You never want to start working if you do not remove the top coat or the polish from the acrylic. That just doesn't work like that. You have to remove that first. Also, when I'm removing the polish, this is the step that I also use to remove any type of lifting and do any type of cut down that I have to do. So with refills, you have to make sure that you remove all your lifting. The last thing you want to do is do a fill on nails that have lifting, because this can create lifting on the first set or the nail to pop off. So sometimes you have a client, the nail popped off. That's because the acrylic underneath prior to the fill is not connected. It's lifting, it's weak. So you have to make sure that before you do a refill, your nail is free of lifting. And also, this is going to help your client's natural nail to remain healthy as well, because prior to the fill, maybe she have water underneath her nails, and then you coming in and apply acrylic to that, and then give her a fill with the water that's already trapped underneath. That can create fungus. She can get a greenie from that. So I just feel like removing the lifting, that's priority. And then of course, since you already have your drill bit and it's a coarse bit, because usually when I do this, I use a coarse or a medium bit. I don't use a fine bit because the fine bit doesn't get the job done quickly, and I like when I'm working, the job is getting done, like the acrylic is going. So I use a coarse bit to do this part. And while I'm working, I'm also making sure that I'm moving the bit. I'm not keeping the bit in one place. And when you're removing your lifting, you want to make sure you be mindful of your client's natural nails. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using a gentle feathering motion to remove the lifting, while I'm making sure the tip of the bit is not touching on her natural nail, because you can damage her natural nails if you do that. So use the tip of the bit and use a gentle feathering motion, but just make sure that you're removing the lifting. And you could tell the lifting. When you hear lifting, it doesn't necessarily mean that when you bend the nail, the back is coming up completely. That is not always necessarily the case. Lifting is just sometimes, if you look at the nail right now, you can see around the nail, that white part around the acrylic, not the cuticles, around the acrylic, you can see that white, that little white area. That's the area that I'm trying to remove, so you could see that nice pink acrylic showing without that little white stuff. I'm sure you guys get the drift what I'm trying to explain to you. But basically, yes, you want to remove all that white area or lifting area. And the last thing you want to do is use a nipper to remove lifting, because this only creates more lifting. You don't want to use a nipper, and you do not want to use a nail clipper. That's the worst mistake you could make. So use your drill bit and give it that light feather motion. Do yourself, do your clients a favor, and make sure you do not skip this step. So after that, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to clip this nail down before I start drilling, because it doesn't make sense to drill the whole nail if you're going to cut it down or if you're going to soak it off. So before the soak off, I clip the nail, and then I use my coarse bit to debolt the nail. I try to debolt the nail as flat as possible. That way soaking it off is going to be much faster. So what you could do is, before you go ahead and file the other nails, you can remove this nail first. That way when you wrap it to soak, it's going to come off fast. It's going to come off faster. So by the time you're done drilling the other nail, so basically I did this backwards. First, I should have done this first, and then second, go ahead and remove my polish and all that. So in the meantime, this nail would have been soaking, but I still got the job done because I didn't get to the next hand as yet, so I had time to do that. So I'm just going to wrap the nail up with acetone and cotton ball, and that usually works for me within 15 to 20 minutes. If she's not using a EMA monomer, this shouldn't take no more than 15 minutes. Next, I'm just gonna come in with my cuticle pusher to expose all my new growth. Sometimes we get complacent and we skip this step, but be mindful, some clients, you just have to do this because their nails lift super easy because the protein growth, or they have excess oils or something. But I do have clients, not a lot, but a few, where their nails produce a lot of excessive protein, so they have all that white buildup around their nail. So you need the cuticle pusher to expose all that new growth. Then I'm going to use my cuticle bit. This bit helps me to get very close to the cuticles and also in the side walls. So if you are scared of using your sanding band, you definitely want to make sure that you have a cuticle bit, because this does not cut your client easily. Like, you could literally touch your client's skin and it doesn't cut them unless you're pushing up against the skin. So obviously you're applying all that pressure, so you're going to cut them. But if it's just like gentle touch your client's skin, it's not going to cut your client. Now I'm going to use my 150 sanding band, and I'm just gonna come over the client's natural nail very light from the right to the left, making sure I get rid of all that excess protein growth. We're trying to get a nice clean nail bed to work on. You want to make sure that your nail bed is extremely clean before you apply any type of product, because these type of debris or protein growth, anything that's between the nail bed and the acrylic, is like a barrier, so it can cause lifting as well. When I'm doing this, I'm not applying too much pressure, and my drill is at 5 to 6,000 RPMs. You can go put it at the speed that you're comfortable. If it's 3,000, you could go ahead and do that as well, but I stay between 4 to 6,000 RPM. Now I'm just going to come in with my nipper and remove all that excess cuticles, because I do not want that to be in the way of my cuticle bead. Sometimes we skip this step. I have done this before where I skip this step, and when I'm trying to put my cuticle bead right up against that cuticle, the skin is in the way. That excess cuticle, it's in the way. So anything that can come in the way and cause lifting, just go ahead and remove that. You should not cut live skin, only dead skin. So you can see the difference. That dead cuticle just hanging is looking white and thirsty. So that's the difference between live skin and dead skin. Dead skin do not bleed. So once you're cutting and your client nail starts to bleed, you touch the live skin, and that's what we want to always try to avoid. If you look at this, you can tell that this is a nail shop, or her nail tech, whoever she went to for this fix, used MMA monomer. You always want to make sure you use EMA monomer on your clients, and you can tell easily when people can tell easily if you did not use EMA, because the acrylic takes so much longer to soak off, and it's gummy. When you pull it off, it's gummy, and the cotton balls stick to it. It's just way more. So please make sure you use MMA products on your clients. And that is the reason why on my booking site I have foreign soak off for $25, while if it's my soak off is $15, because sometimes I do not know what kind of product they're coming in with, and because of this my soak off is set for 30 minutes, and because now I'm soaking off MMA products, it takes an hour. So now I'm just gonna come in and measure the tip. I'm making sure that I find a tip that fit from side to side. You never want to use a tip that is too small, because then your client nail will eventually crack. So you want to make sure that your nail fits side to side, and if the nail is too big, if the nail tip is too big, use that one, because you can use your hand file to shape the sides in and make it fit your client's nail. So I'm just going to apply my glue, then my nail tip to the nail. And these curved tips, they're on my website as well. These are the 876 nails curved tips. And as you know, my website is currently under construction. I'm renovating and relaunching and all that fancy stuff. So once I'm open back up, you will have all these products to purchase. So I'm using my 100 hand file to shape the nail, and then I'll just use my sanding band to blend the tip to her natural nail. So this is alcohol that I'm using to dehydrate the nail. This is going to remove any excess oils that's on the nail bed. You have to remember that we produce oils. Our body produces oil, and these oil happens to be on our nail bed. So you want to always make sure that you use a dehydrator as an extra step. Also, before I did this part, I don't know why it's not in the video, I did prime after I dehydrate. So my first bead, I'm going to place that right where the tip and the natural nail meet. And mind you, I'm working in real time. So what I did is I placed the bead where the tip and the natural nail meet, making sure my client finger is facing downward. That way the acrylic is going to naturally start flowing to the tip of the nail. Using the belly of the brush, I'm going to gently pat the acrylic towards the tip of the nail. You always want to make sure you're not applying too much pressure, because you're going to start creating lumps and an uneven surface. So you don't want to apply too much pressure to the acrylic. Then I'm going to come in with my cuticle bead, and if you notice, I did not place that exactly up against the cuticle. I left just a little bit of room where if I tap it, it's going to flow naturally in the cuticle area. If you're using a good acrylic and you have your liquid to powder ratio correctly, you should not be fighting with your beads. Your beads should be flowing accordingly. If you set your bead down and you notice that it is about to run, all you need to do is hold the bead in place, so that's just going to give it some time to set. So that's what you want to do if your bead is too runny. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply another bead. That way I build my apex. So the apex of the nail is for strength. And every time you see I push my nail off to the side, I'm just checking the structure of my nail, making sure nothing is missing. You always want to look at your nail from different angles, because this is going to show you where you need to come in and add more acrylic. Coming in again with my cuticle bead, gently tapping it back into the cuticle. And please remember, you do not have to be aggressive with your acrylic. You just need gentle taps and strokes. And also when you're feathering your acrylic, you want to also make sure that you're feathering it very lightly. Sometimes when we apply our acrylics, the acrylic is already flowing and doing what it's supposed to do, but as a beginner, sometimes you might panic and you start going in, working, where you do not need to do that. I highly recommend that you keep practicing your liquid to powder ratio. That way it's going to become a norm, and also try to stick with a pattern. So what I'm basically saying is, try to do the same steps all the time. That way it's like a muscle memory. You're going to get used to it. You're going to see where, okay, I did this the last time and I did it again. Maybe I should stop doing it that way. You know, you're basically getting used to your routine, and like that you could tell where you're going wrong. And if you make a correction, you can also see that that correction worked or if it didn't work. So try to stick to the same routine all the time. Work with wet beads because wet beads, they are going to blend easily. When I say wet bead, I do not mean the bead is going to be running off the nail. No, but a dry bead, it doesn't blend into the previous acrylic. Do you get what I'm saying? So if it's like a fill and you already have that dry acrylic, if the bead is still too dry that you're applying, it's not going, the transition is not going to look good. That's what I'm basically trying to say. And with your cuticle bead, you definitely want to avoid using a dry bead. I'm using a number 12 brush to do my application. I never use a big brush because for me, with a small brush, I can pick up big beads and I can pick up small beads. It's all about your liquid to powder ratio. If you want a small bead, that just means that you need to leave less monomer in your brush. And if you want a large bead, that just means that you need to leave more monomer in your brush. For me, I prefer to use a smaller brush, and that's what I stick to because like I said, I know how to work it either way. That's what our application looks like, and now it's time for our shaping using my 100 grit hand file. You want to always make sure that you hold your hand file at a 45-degree angle for a coffin shape. So you want to apply pressure as well because filing the nail too soft, you're not going to get anywhere with your shaping. So you got to put your back into it. Apply pressure, and be confident. Look at the nail all the time when you're shaping. Do not stay on one side for too long because then you're going to make the nail crooked. So keep going from side to side and looking at the nail at a 45-degree angle. You want to make sure that the hand file is up against the nail like that. When you place the hand file up against the nail, you should be able to see the shape forming out. So you don't want to hold it straight or under. You want to make sure that it's up against the nail at a 45-degree angle, stroking back and forth and applying pressure. And this is how you're going to be able to get your coffin shape nice. You always want to make sure that your client's hand is always relaxed. That way you can see where you need to shape more, because when they stiff their fingers, when their hand is stiff, they're basically forcing their finger to go in one direction. But when their hand is relaxed, which that's how it's going to be when you're done, relaxed. So you want to make sure that you shape their nails while their hand is relaxed, because that way you can see the direction where the nail is actually going. So that's why nail tech always saying relax your hand, relax your hand. That's because when the hands are relaxed, you can see the direction in which the shape is going, the true direction. And like I said, put pressure. You want to apply pressure. I'm a 100 grit hand file girl. I do not like to use 80 grit. I've tried 80 grit before and it's just not for me. It's too aggressive. And 180, that's too soft. A lot of nail techs, they love to use the 80 because they said that okay, they move faster with it and stuff like that. But for me, the 100 grit is perfect. I love to use it, and this is what I stick to. So you want to explore options and see what you like. What do you like to use? How do you like to work? And once you find something that you like, you keep practicing it that way. But also, I'm not saying you shouldn't have an open mind. Have an open mind, because at first with the 80 grit, that was me trying to use a 80 just to see what other people are talking about. I tried it and I didn't like it, so I went back to my 100 grit hand file. So that's what we're working with right now. Everything looks good from the side. Love it. So we're just gonna jump straight into the e-filing. So my e-filing, I'm using a Pana drill bit, and this is the medium bit, and my drill is at like 19,000 RPMs. I like to put my drill at a faster speed because to me it gives me a better blend When I move slow, I feel like I make ditches in the acrylic, but I'm not saying you're supposed to move slow. I feel like for a beginner, 14,000 is okay. So use your options and play with your options and see what you like to use, what you can control. That's the most important thing. What speed can you control while getting the job done? And then the more you use your hand, the e-file is the more you're going to get comfortable with it, and then you can up your speed as you go along. But the main goal is to be able to control your e-file. When I'm filing, I make sure that I seal my cuticles. That way my client nails doesn't lift easily. When you seal your cuticles, you're basically blocking out any type of water from getting underneath the nail. You're sealing the nail, you're sealing the acrylic to your client's nail. You need it to have that look like it's coming out your client's sidewalls and cuticles. That's how you want it to look, and this way water is going to be very hard to get underneath. So make sure you're not leaving like a bump in the back of your, make sure you're not leaving that little hump exactly when you coming out the cuticle. You want to leave that part extremely flat. That part right there that I'm filing right now, you want to make sure around and the cuticle area is flat. You want that flat look. And then when you come on to the apex, which is the strength, that's where you start to raise the acrylic, and then it falls as it goes towards the free edge of the nail. Make sure that you hold your drill bit completely flat. That way the bit is in touch with all of the nail, and that's how you're going to be able to get the nail extremely smooth. I usually go from the right to the left when I'm drilling, and I use my bit as well to remove any excess hanging nails, or if it's not in shape, if the flow is off, or if you have any little bumps underneath, you know, I use my drill bit to clean that up. Especially because I'm using curved tips, so it's kind of hard to use the hand file to shape underneath, because you don't want to use the hand file and then you take away from the aesthetic of the curved tips. So that's why I use my bit to do like little cleanups, because I want to keep the curve that's underneath the nail as well. Now that I am done with my application, my client, she washed her hands, and now we're doing now that I'm done with my filing, wash her hands, and now I'm just gonna move straight to the design. So I was polishing, and then I noticed that there's lint in the polish, so I had to end up wiping that off, because this pinky finger is going to be a chrome nail. So I didn't want to apply the chrome over the lint, because then the chrome is going to have that bubbly, lumpy look that I really hate. So I had to go ahead and wipe that off and come back in and start polishing. And make sure you're using a lint-free wipes to wipe the nail off, because then you don't want to put more lint on the nail. So after I wipe it off, then I'm going to come back again with my polish the nail, lint. Yo, we all go through this. I feel like lint, I don't know, but I hate it. I really hate it. Like sometimes I don't know what, if it's coming from my polish, if it's coming from the nail, but I dust and wipe 24/7, and they're my worst enemy. But anyways, I let her cure her nail for 60 seconds with black polish. You want to always make sure that it's properly cured, and you're not polishing too thick, because then it can curdles easier than other polishes. So I'm going for this raised 3D effect look on my chrome. So I'm using my stone gel to create these lines, and then I'm gonna cure that for 60 seconds, and then I'm gonna come back in with the chrome and apply that. You can also use your nail art brush to apply your lines. You don't have to do it like me. So after I apply the lines and cure the lines, I'm going to use the top coat, and I'm going to let the top coat dry for 60 seconds. So when you're applying chrome with top coat, you don't want the top coat to dry for too long, because then it's not going to be sticky enough. So 30 seconds usually works. I'm going to use my finger, or you could use your applicator brush, whatever, to apply the chrome, but I'm just going to use my finger to apply the chrome. Make sure I rub it in, and making sure that I pick up enough chrome on my finger as well. You want to make sure you're working with enough chrome. Before I top coat, I'm going to go ahead and remove any excess chrome that's on the skin, because you don't want to apply the top coat while the chrome is messy, because then after your top coat you cannot clean that up. So you want to, when you're doing chrome, you want to do your cleanup before. So I'm just going to show you this nail. I didn't end up using this design, but I'm just going to show you the arrow that I made, and I couldn't tell what was happening first, but I'm just going to do like a quick look. This is the blooming gel. So everything was going good, but then I tried to do a chrome look on top of this nail, and for some reason the chrome would not stick, guys. Chrome wouldn't stick. I don't know what was happening. So that was for the middle finger. The thumb came out good. I did flowers. These are the cute blooming flowers on the thumb. These came out super cute. So with the blooming gel, you want to apply a thin layer, then apply your polish, let it bloom until you like how it looks. Keep wiping your sides in case the blooming gel is running off to the side. You don't want it to change your shape. And then when it looks how you want it to look, then you cure it. So long story short, back to this. When I applied this, the chrome was not sticking on it, so I had to wipe it off. And then I decided to do the two blooming flowers on this nail again. So I applied the blooming gel all over the nail, then let it bloom until I like how it looks. Keep wiping the sides, and then I'm going to cure that. So the problem is I wasn't letting the top coat cure long enough. Do you see how this nail look? The chrome looks ashy. I really hate that look. Like when I do a chrome, I needed to have that mirror effect. So I had to go again and wipe it off, and I was like, why is it doing that? But I didn't notice that my drill was on, my lamp was on 15 seconds. And it's supposed to cure for 30 seconds. So that is why the chrome wasn't sticking properly, wasn't giving that mirror effect. And that's why I end up having to change the middle finger too, because I was like, I need to go because my next client, I'm running late. So I end up changing the middle finger, but then it was starting to do the same thing on the pointer finger. I'm like, no. So then I went ahead and cured it for 30 seconds, and it came out like this. So make sure you're curing it for 30 seconds. You don't want to do it too long, because then it's not going to stick at all. Then, like I said before, you want to clean up any excess chrome before you apply your top coat, because after the top coat, that's it. So apply your top coat and cure that for 60 seconds. I'm in love with this chrome design, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I am enjoying all of this, all of it. So in the flowers, I just did two cute stones. And then on the ring finger, I'm just going to do these cute 3D lines. I did have an inspo pic that I got off of Pinterest, so that's what I'm working with. Some of them I did change, like the blooming flowers and stuff like that. That wasn't on the inspo pic. So like I said, you can use your nail art brush, which is this brush, to do your lines. You do not have to use it out the tube. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I do not use it straight from the tube. Sometimes I use the nail art brush from the jump, or sometimes I use it from the tube, then I use the nail art brush to do the final touches. This gel is the Markartt stone gel that you can get from Amazon. I'm going to leave it in the description box below, so make sure you're reading the description box for products that I use that I'm able to link below. Like I said, I'm going to link the art gel, the stone gel and this acrylic, guys. This is called Roses, and this is a new color. My clients love this color, so make sure you look out for this color, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. See you in the